All right, I got it now. I don't know what the heck it was, but it was kept telling me that the studio is not online. Let me get everybody back. All right, we're live.
Okay. Did you get TJ? Hello, everybody.
Not yet. I just got on Ghosts on there.
Okay, we're working on it, everybody. Welcome to the Cosmos Connection. This is Janet Carol Lessin. We're attempting to get Teresa J. Morris online here. We've had some technical difficulties today, so bear with us. And our guest today is Russell Brinegar. We're going to pick up where we left off last week. And I'm not 100% sure where we left off because another week has gone by, which was very full. We were talking about Russell's book, Overlords of the Singularity, and all the ramifications.
Love you.
Hey, are you on live? We're live, Teresa. Do you want to do your intro? TJ? TJ? Hello? Teresa?
Hello?
Yes,
hi, this is Teresa.
I'm live on the Cosmos Connection on Revolution Radio. Yep, you're
live. Am I on? Okay, which planet are you on, Janet?
Is not in service. If you feel you've received this message in error,
no,
please
I
hang
want
up
Earth,
and try your call
Earth.
again later.
Oh, what galaxy are we in? I think they call it. Okay, you can hear me. Oh, good. Hi, everybody. Hi, Janet. Are you in Hawaii?
Yeah, but I don't know if anybody else can hear you. Mad, can you hear Teresa J. Morris?
Yeah, I can. I'm trying to get Russell back. Apparently, he was on a phone Skype, not on computer Skype, and that might have been why
okay.
I get on it earlier.
Yay! I hear Mad. I can see the clouds. Yay! A Mad painter. She's in Georgia, folks. Janet's in Hawaii, and I'm in Florida, Gulf Breeze, one of the meccas for the UFO world. In case anybody can hear us, let's hope they can. We know we'll be taped live once we get all this technical stuff happening with wherever we're out here. So now we're waiting on Russell Brinegar, Janet Carol Lessin, a Mad painter, Teresa J. Morris, and Russell Brinegar. We're going to have a conversation if anybody's interested. We hope you are, because it's hard enough just trying to get together. It's a reality check, isn't it? Okay, Janet, what is this? What day? What day is it on planet Earth?
Today is September 2nd, 2017. Do you know that if they're going to test you to see if you're conscious and aware and,
the subscriber you have dialed is not in service. If you feel you've received this message in error...
Number for Russell. Hold on. One test they ask you is, what day is it? And, I never pay attention, so they'll probably think I'm brain dead if I don't respond to the right answer.
Right. Gotta know the year.
I don't know what day it is. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, we usually don't. But folks, we're going to get better at being human. We're sort of meta humans. If you ever watch The Flash. Oh my gosh. Well, we're going to talk today with humanoids, we think, and we're doing our best to be spirits inhabiting a physical body and a physical reality. So Janet and I are meeting here so you guys can help us out. And we call this, what do we call this, Janet? This one's Cosmos Connection.
Yeah, we have so many shows now, we don't know where we are.
What we're doing. But we came here to meet with everybody that's tuning in, and hopefully it's going to make you a better person, closer to the cosmos that we live in. Where we are on a planet spinning around smartly with each other. Something has brought us here to the planet, and we connect to the galaxies of the many galaxies and the universes and the many universes. And we found some people that we like to, I guess you could say, congregate occasionally on radio airwaves with you guys. And we have a chat room if you're listening on your phones. Hi, Diana McClintock in Florida, and hello, everybody that's listening. And any of you friends that have met me, or Janet, or Mad Painter, also known as Thomas Becker. And Mad is trying to get Russell Brinegar connected, and I can't see. Janet, do you see anybody up on the screen?
No,
it's
just me. It's just me, you, and Mad Painter. And I gave Ahmad the phone numbers, 2 phone numbers to try for Russell. I'm not sure what number he was trying to call it.
He's trying to call, but it's telling me it's going to put it on hold. So he's using Skype on phone or something, and everything's screwed up. All I can do is hang it up and call you all back and see if that fixes it.
Hey, Ahmad, can you see me? I'm on Skype, Ahmad. See if you can grab me on Skype, can you?
Let me go ahead and hang it up and get it all started over again.
All right, folks, we'll be right back. Stand by.
Boy, Skype's sure messing up today. We're trying to get all this back together here again. Yeah.
Janet.
Yeah, I'm getting there.
Oh, there's TJ.
I think it was he's using Skype on a phone and.
Okay. He says you can call the 765 number I gave you if the Skype isn't working. He said he was on Skype, and you were trying to reach him on Skype.
I can hear you.
There's TJ.
Great. I'm talking to Ahmad. Yeah, we got TJ. We got.
I'm trying
Ahmad.
I added him to it.
Trying to get our guests.
Okay, Russell Brinegar. Can you hear us yet?
No, he's not answered yet.
Okay.
Try the 765 number that I put in the chat. He said try that number. Do you need it again? Here, I'll give
No, I don't need it again.
Okay. All right. Well, in the meantime, folks, we're a very interesting crew. Thank you. I'm sure you are too. Very unique, these humanoids. And we've been doing some interesting traveling around the universe. And
why don't you update our people about the journey you just completed at the Moffitt Cancer Center and
my daughter.
That one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got to go for 4 months when my daughter had completely, so it's like a cellular death. She can tell her story even better than I can. I don't know who's.
Oh, we're calling Russell. So continue.
Yeah.
So how is she doing? Is she okay?
That's me.
Getting an echo from you, Russ.
That wasn't Russ. That was me.
No,
that was you.
That was Russell. He just hung up.
Oh well, my phone was ringing. It says 229-299-5320.
That's my number.
Turn your phone off. Turn your phone off.
You can't be on Skype on your phone and on a computer. It don't work. It counterflicts each other.
Yeah, I wasn't. But I got a call from Ahmad on my phone.
You were logged in on your phone on Skype. Log out of Skype on your phone.
Oh, I'm not on my phone. I'm on the one you called me on. Can you see me?
Okay, so you're no longer on the phone. Just make sure your phone's turned off. I turn off my phones.
Yeah.
So we don't get feedback. Oh, is this?
Okay, now this is getting bloody ridiculous.
Okay, I'm here.
I have no clue what happened just then.
I have no clue either. It's just one of those days. It's okay. It's all good. We're going to be fine here. This too shall pass.
I'm not sure.
Well, I see TJ. Oh, I see Russell. Russell.
Well, I'm calling them both. That's just, you see the little lines going up and down.
Yeah.
Now somebody's trying to call the whole group back on the other conversation.
Okay, I'm going to tell them. I'll text. Say, don't call Ahmad. Let Ahmad call you. Oh God. Hold on.
I'm removing them from that conversation so they can't. I just ain't had time. Now they can't. So TJ should just be able to hit it and call me back.
Do you want her to call you back?
I just trying to call her back now.
Okay.
The subscriber you have dialed
keeps going to call forwarding on him. He doesn't answer the damn phone.
Okay. What number do you want him to call?
The 229-299-5320.
Hey,
wait, 229. Wait, hold on.
I done typed
Say
it.
That again.
I typed it in the Skype to you already.
Somebody kept calling me instead of Russell.
No, don't pick up the calls. You've got to shut your phone off.
You just stay right where you are right now. Don't touch any other calls.
I'm not touching nothing.
Great. Okay, I don't see your.
I done typed the number to Russell already a few minutes ago and told him to call it.
Okay, what is the number? Put it in the chat, and I'll tell him again.
229-299-5320.
Okay, good.
Folks, we will be doing this, I promise, whatever this is.
It's hilarious. It's the TJ and Janet comedy show and a Mad Painter.
It's frustrating.
Yeah, because my phone kept ringing, so I thought a Mad kept trying to call me instead of Russell. So the computer kept calling me.
Shut your phone off.
Yeah, my phone's off. So
okay, good.
Yeah, but I was already talking to you guys on my computer, and then
we got bumped. We all got bumped.
Yeah, the whole thing shut down because of counterflicting information being used.
Well, anyway, at least are you
all right?
Are you still in the same bodies? I don't know. Did everybody look down? See if
I am as just this morning as it was yesterday.
Okay, he says he's on Skype. Would you try him on Skype?
Okay, grab him. Yeah, you may have to close this all out again to get him on Skype. So, and I never had him on Skype, so I know it's not me. I don't even have a Russell Brinegar. Let's see. I'm going to look for him, though, folks.
Okay, this is getting ridiculous. Every time he answers, it just dies.
Okay, I'm here.
Whenever he answers, it just dies. It's something at his...
He says he's on a Skype. His landline is plugged into this computer. I wonder if I can close Skype.
It's a technical thing at his end, because every time he answers it, it kills off the conversation. So
is the gang all here?
His end.
Okay.
Not yet?
Okay, I'm going to tell him to use Skype and get rid of the landline.
Restart his computer.
Restart computer. Okay, I'm texting him.
Now TJ hung up.
Okay, here we go.
TJ, are you back?
TJ.
Well, that's interesting.
Stay on. Don't do anything. Don't touch anything. Don't call anything.
I'll keep.
We're just trying to get this going.
Okay, we're still looking for Russell Brinegar, folks. It's worth hanging around because this technology
he's amazing.
is it's wonderful when you put everybody together, but we don't usually have this many glitches in the computer system. But I know that my computer guy is coming out today, but I'm not touching anything. I'm just...
it has to do with whatever he's doing at his end. There's something not working right at his end.
It clicks us off?
Yeah, it just hangs us up when he answers.
He has his landline hooked into his computer.
Yeah,
so that's not really a landline.
I don't know how he's doing that.
That's one of those other phones that have to be. Yeah, that's not a landline. A landline goes.
That must be one of them. What is it? One of the $20 things you get.
Yeah, the VoIP ones, VoIP or something.
What do we need to do? He was here fine last week. I don't know what.
He was using Skype last week, just plain old.
Okay, he said. Okay, so try the Skype. I'll say, are you ready?
Okay.
You start.
Okay, hold on. I'm typing to him, so nobody do anything based on what I'm saying.
No, I'm not doing typing.
Okay, so are you ready? We're going to call you on Skype, okay?
Let the producer do it. I'm going to producer.
Mad's the producer.
Okay.
Unplug the phone.
It's going to be hilarious.
See, that's all I'm getting is a phone from him. I'm not getting anything else.
Well, you were calling me. Somehow, every time you called him, you were calling me.
No, I was calling all of you at the same time.
Oh.
Yeah.
Look.
Oh, I was hearing.
Okay, he says he's restarting his computer. Give him a minute. Okay, good. We're gonna actually have a show.
There's something in the messed up with his the way it's tied together there.
So
Okay.
We're all three on Skype. We're plugged into Studio B, folks. We're all in different locations. And the studio's actually in Kentucky. I'm in Florida. Janet's in Hawaii. And the producer, Ahmed Painter, is in Georgia. Now, Russell, where's Russell? Pennsylvania, isn't he, Janet?
I don't know.
I don't remember.
See, it's not bringing up a Skype contact for him. All it's doing is bringing me up a telephone number for him.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you want me to tell? Well, wait, he's going to log on to Skype now. Okay, give him a second.
Russell Brinegar.
Yeah, don't add him. Don't do anything right now.
So I got no clue how he's got things set up, but he's got something set up wrong somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Well, he restarted and he's logging on to Skype now. So let me see if he comes up for me, because I've had him on before.
Well, he needs to make us a friend so we can see him. You know?
Right. Why, he might be my friend.
Let's look.
It's not showing.
As far as I can tell on my end, it's just saying that he's using Skype on a phone and he ain't using a computer at all.
And on mine, I don't even see him as a friend. So if we ever get him up here, we'll click on him.
I can send him. I can add him. Hold on. Okay, so he's showing up, but it's orange. What does it mean when it's orange?
Away. He's not there right at the moment.
He's showing away.
But see, if you click his profile, all that is a telephone number. There's no Skype contact for a computer. And
he doesn't
probably
have
what the problem is he's, he doesn't have Skype for a computer on his computer. He's got Skype for a phone on his computer.
Oh. Very interesting.
He has a cell phone, and then that one's not going to be hooked to his computer. Let me try that one.
Oh wow, folks, we're learning.
Okay, I gave you the cell phone number. Do you still have that, Ahmad?
Yeah, I mean that's what it keeps bringing me up to. It doesn't give me a Skype contact.
What's the first area code?
Just call him on his cell phone, or call him on his other. I gave you two phones. Try on the one that you didn't try, or try them both, or something.
I only see one phone.
Okay, let me do it again. I'll put it in.
Not the 270. That's mine. She gave you my 70 number.
No, I gave that earlier. Okay, so let me just get Russell's numbers.
Well, Ahmad, if you see 270-256, that's my phone number.
Yeah, I've got yours. Yours are all on your contact
I wonder why
list.
mine was ringing. Every time you'd say you were calling him, my phone would ring. And that was weird. Unless he was trying to call me too.
Well, he's still showing away, so.
Ahmad.
Okay, he said try. There's two phone numbers there. You see them in chat?
Which one do you want me to try?
765 number.
Oh, tell me. Yeah. I don't. Which one did you try before?
I don't remember now.
Okay, just start with the first one.
I'll try the bottom one.
None of us remember. Okay, you're the bottom one.
Well,
okay, I'll ask him.
We're going to have to talk about something higher than this. This is
for sure. Hey, it looks like something.
No, I'm calling him.
Okay, we're hearing it. Sounds like an old phone ringing.
Yes.
There we go.
Hey, there we go. The gang's all here now. We got Russell. Yay.
Okay.
Can you hear me, Russell?
Yeah.
What state are you in? Are you in Pennsylvania? No, Indy.
Indiana.
Ah, okay. Well, we were trying to call you, but every time somehow the computer would call my cell phone. Not sure how that works, but apparently your computer with cell phone, you don't show on my friend list. So we'll
do that later, TJ. Let's just start with the show. We'll do more tech later. We're already half hour into the show. We need to just get going.
Mr. Brinegar, Russell Brinegar, welcome back. We've been hearing for 30 minutes how to get in contact with you. Not very successful. So, what part of Indiana do you actually exist? I mean, physically in 3D. Where are you? Okay.
Russell, you still there? Okay.
It's showing him still here.
He's here. Okay, let's just chat. He'll say something.
Russell, did you mute?
Did he?
We need to act before it's only about survival. It would seem mankind become homicidal.
What are you reading my stuff?
I just saw.
Can you hear me?
You have a poem? Oh, there he is.
There he is.
Russell, what's going on with the Houston and all these hurricanes? In your opinion, what's happening?
With all the hurricanes?
Yeah. Do we have earth changes, polar shift, Nibiru, HARP? The world government's trying to kill us. Who's trying to kill us? The singularity. What's your take on this phenomenon that is hitting? And then there's another hurricane on the way to get TJ and her people.
My take on it is that as we go into the next few years, the hurricanes will get more and more severe. For one thing, there's about a dozen ionospheric heaters in operation that are competing with one another. The one up in Alaska.
What's an ionosphere heater? Is that you're talking about HARP?
Right. And they've been playing around with our ionosphere for years, so no telling what that's doing. And since there's about a dozen similar devices that are all classified around the planet and trying to figure out how to manipulate the weather, I mean, there's no telling what kind of weather we're going to get. And another line of thinking is, many people believe we're coming to the end of one yuga and the beginning of another one, which will produce the entrance of our solar system into an energetic cloud. And right now, according to some sources, clouds are developing on the equatorial region of Mars. Our moon, which is likely artificial, is developing a natrium atmosphere. The auroras on both Jupiter and Saturn are highly energized right now, and there's rings developing on the outer planets that weren't there before. So there is a man-made factor here as far as us destroying our own environment and polluting our atmosphere and making atmospheric changes. But the whole entire solar system seems to be moving into an excited state, and that's all open to speculation depending on what body of information you're looking at as to the significance of all that. But apparently, as we end the 25,920-year precession of the equinox cycle, our whole solar system enters into an energetic cloud, and some feel that this is leading to some sort of dimensional shift.
That sounds pretty accurate to me. What do you think? Let's go to TJ. What do you think is happening?
Well, I don't mess with Mother Nature. I just ride along here, but I am in the path of hurricanes, being right here in Gulf Breeze. I personally don't really follow HARP since I got out of the military, but I do understand they can do certain things to our ionosphere. As far as anything above that, I don't know. But in our own atmosphere, I'm just happy to be breathing the same air with everybody. So it's all I can do to just sort of stay alive and survive right now. My family had to move from Houston, so it's been very cataclysmic, and I felt like I'm in several different realities. So I've been noticing dimensional shifts inside my own reality and inside my own brain. It's been very 3D unnerving because my brother and two sisters had to leave their homes in Houston, and then when I was to go up north to get away from Lake Brazos, the Brazos River, where their homes, it was cresting, and they barely got out on a freeway, and other friends of mine, the freeways they couldn't get past, because folks, I'm from Houston. I went to school there. I was born in Louisiana, raised in Houston, but it's very unnerving to talk about things that are so personal, and people are we've lost people, and people have friends and family there, and it's very personal, and it's very emotionally disturbing, I guess one would say. I had to drive through several bands of Harvey down here to get home to just where I am, from Tampa to Gulf Breeze, and it was very unnerving when the sheets would hit my car people would stop right in front of me. A big truck, I was driving, we were all going roughly 55, 65, and they'd stop under the freeway twice, and it's very unnerving. So personally, it's been a reality check, because now I'm wondering, do we need to move from the coast? But I live down here, and I don't want to leave everything and everybody. But can you imagine how many people on the planet, especially in Houston, are suffering? So I would hope that our country is not we're going to be making Houston better. So, all I can say is reality is a bitch sometimes, okay? And we're on Revolution, we're about surviving and thriving, but we're going to have to redo Houston. I don't know about Gulf Breeze. We'll see if Irva's.
I think we need to start moving back from the coast and not rebuilding, because it's going to happen again and again and again.
2/3 of the world's population live within 50 miles of the coastline, and right now in Texas isn't really as bad as what people would seem. Over there in Asia, they've got over 1,500 people have died in the monsoon over there that's happening right now.
Right. Well, we're going to see more and more of that unless we get conscious, and we have the technology to go off planet. If we're going to have this many people, we need to really rethink this globally as an entire culture. Because people like the ocean, they like to swim in it, they like to look at it, but the ocean is pretty dynamic, and I'm living here on Maui. If we have a nose flood, I'm gone. But I'm 700 feet, 800 feet up, so it's unlikely for me to have a similar thing like they're having in Houston. But if the isthmus gets flooded, then there'll be no more places to shop. You won't be able to fly in and out of here. We'll be reliant upon boats and barges. So it's time to really think about this, and it ties in with what Russell said. Is this the these changes that are part of this cycle within cycles, and they're so long we don't see them because we're just a bunch of ants in the grand design of the cosmos and the big yugas and Kali yugas and things that happen in the universe. But I don't know, if we were like the Enterprise and Star Trek in that reality, we would be thinking on a different level instead of we would be thinking about, well, where do we go live and where do we put our colonies, and do we go underground, do we go up high in the mountains? But after Noah's flood, there's still some ruins and archaeological digs that are showing that after the flood, they were growing vegetables and terracing way up high, like in the Andes. Why? Because that was the first thing that started to show after the flood, and it took years and years and years for the Earth to get into this configuration. So it's always in a world that's constantly changing. It's always changing. So.
Well, let's talk about that reality from last week. Russell, you remember us talking about the various levels of existence in humanity,
right,
all the way back to the ancients. And what do you remember that you read about the ancients? Because we're here, some of us. I would imagine that not all of us are, I would like to think we're all immortal, and we're all down here on the planet surviving for a purpose. And for many of us, waking our consciousness levels to an existence of more than sitting around doing nothing, because nothing gets boring. So for whatever reason, we're down here entertaining ourselves in what in spirituality we call the game of life. Now, I wanted to talk to you about the various levels of existence, and this may be a low level. Many people, they can't get off the planet. I'm not saying everybody, but most have no clue how to get off the planet. But you want to start at the very top level?
Well, it depends on who you talk to, because if you read some of the old Theosophist material, then they're talking about 7 planes of existence. Michio Kaku and other theoretical physicists are talking about 11 dimensions. So it just depends on the source that you consider credible as to how many actual levels they are. I think a lot of it is probably beyond our present comprehension. One thing that's encouraging is that if this 25,920 year cycle is about to cycle over, it's happened many, many times. And you coordinate that with the various populations that have just disappeared off the face of the planet, and you wonder if that might have something to do with it. If this thing cycles around every 25,000 years, no telling what exactly happens. Those of us alive today may live to find out. But apparently, the current thinking and the sources that I look at is that people who are resonating on a certain level will go on to a 4D reality, with other beings of light, and sort of graduate from three-dimensional dualistic reality. And then everybody else stays here or is retransported to another physical planet somewhere to continue their lessons in 3 dimensions. And some science that backs this, David Wilcock is explaining quite a bit on his wisdom teachings, which is a really great series. He goes into the work of Dr. William Tift. They always, all the astronomers are interpreting the redshift that you see out there as distance and speed, and that may not be accurate. What William Tift discovered was that all of these redshift values fall upon a diatonic scale, and if everything was expanding away from us at the speed of light and the redshifts represented speed and distance, then you wouldn't see that. You just have random numerical calculations all over the place, but they exist in specific values that coordinate with a diatonic scale. So there is evidence, tangible evidence, through Tift's work, that what we're looking at when we look out into outer space with the redshift is some sort of dimensional spectrum rather than speed and distance. And if that's the case, that changes astronomy fundamentally.
Well, a lot of people believe that the 4th dimension is strictly time, if you know what I mean. They jump to the 5th dimension, as we've sung about in our Age of Aquarius. It was Janet named something Aquarius Radio, but if we're talking about the 5th dimension and all that, now there's dimensions and realms. And then we can talk about parallel universes and existence. You just mentioned maybe another 3D reality. But you're talking, how are you talking when you speak? There's the 7 and 11 and the 13. But what do you speak, when you speak 4th dimension, are you not basing that on time?
Well, some people refer to 4D and other people refer to 5D, because you're right. Most people think of three-dimensional reality as length, breadth, width, and time. So that takes up 4. So in a lot of people's minds, going to the next level they would refer to that as 5D, but they really mean the same thing as the people that are saying we're going to 4D. That just means the next level up from the physical dimension. And the physicists, they're putting together numbers and figuring out that there's about 5 different versions of string theory that actually, and all the different string theorists argue with each other, but what they're finding out is that each version of the string theory is almost like the point of a snowflake, and it's all, putting together a grand picture of how the universe is put together, incorporating dark matter into their equations. And they're thinking, that these 11 dimensions are necessary for all the mathematics to work. But then again, a lot of that is based on the Big Bang Theory. And, there is some evidence that there was no Big Bang. So, again, depending on the source that you're looking at, we're at a unique time, because it used to be there was consensus science globally on just about everything. But many different subjects are splitting into these little subgroups of groups of scientists that think very different things from one another. And we've never really seen that before. Of course, the whole history of science is only a couple hundred years old, so it's all very brand new. And Jeffrey Kripal, who co-authored a book called Supernatural with Whitley Strieber, said the biggest mistake in human history was when the scientific community threw out anecdotal evidence and incorporating their worldview. The way science has traditionally operated is, they've only considered real what could be measured and reproduced. And that's a big mistake, because a lot of things that are very real in our overall reality can't be even approached by anything that we know of as our current science. So anecdotal stories and credible eyewitness testimony are having taken a second look at in the scientific community. And there's an experiencer, I don't know if you're familiar with him, Raniero Hernandez, who started with Edgar Mitchell an organization called FREE. And they have quite an impressive list of PhD level, doctorate level scientists who have been engaged in the scientific field for years and years. And what's happening is a new paradigm in science is emerging that sort of links traditional science with what we would have always called mysticism. And they're letting in the anecdotal stories. They're letting the experiencers tell their tales, and they're building a new worldview based on hard science, which is good. But that doesn't mean there aren't things beyond hard science that are part of our reality. So even the scientists these days are opening their eyes to other levels of intuitive knowledge and the eyewitness testimonies. But Ray Raniero had a wonderful encounter with an energy being, and it wound up healing his Jack Russell Terrier that they were going to have euthanized that one day. And he just didn't know where to take his experience, so he contacted Mary Wadwell, and she emailed him back. She has become a part of the FREE organization, and I forget the exact acronym, but it's the Foundation for Research of Extraordinary Experience, or something like that. I forget the actual acronym, but that organization is really going to make some headway.
The Foundation for Research into Extraterrestrial Encounters.
Yeah, Janet and I are both members. We gave them our experiences to put on file and move on. But yeah, that's pretty cool.
Well,
we've
that's
got a great Facebook page.
You said, Russell, I just wanted to add, I was at the MUFON conference in July, and Richard Dolan was on kind of one side, and you had the experiencers. We had Corey Good, William Tompkins, Michael Sala, Dr. Michael Sala, and Andrew Bashaga. We're kind of like on one end. And so, Richard was kind of discounting the experiencer phenomena. Forgive me, Richard, if I'm saying this wrong, but he was more nuts and bolts. And the other side was like, well, testimonials are just as valuable. So what you just said, wish you would have been on that panel, because it made a lot of sense, and it might have cut to the chase some of these arguments, but that's what we need to take into account as a testimonial. We have millions of experiencers now that are coming out based on Ray's findings. I forget the stats, but it's something like, we've had Ray on the show 3 or 4 times, and it's in the realm of like 25 million experiencers based on their statistics that they're gathering from their research. So anyway, just wanted to add that. Back to you.
Right. Yeah. The era of Edward J. Condon and his preconceived ideas that got inflicted on the scientific community in 1969 with the Condon Report, which basically just published his personal views on flying saucers, that it was all poo-poo, is over, because there's very, very credible hard science type guys that are taking a fresh look at ufology. And what the big piece that a lot of the scientists have missed is that there is an incredible amount of data out there. I mean, you have to accept the fact that these things are being reported. These experiences are being reported, and then you can take that and crunch numbers on it and find out. You can plot them on a map. You can find out the demographics of how old they were or what their background is, and you can do a tremendous amount of data. And there's people that have done this, Dr. Jacques Vallée and Dr. Amy Michel, a French mathematician, who came up with his straight line theory, because in 1954 alone, there was 1,000 ufonaut encounters, landed craft with humanoid-looking ufonauts coming out of it. These reports were factual, so he just took all the factual reports and plotted them, and he found out there was actually star patterns where there was a cigar craft in the middle, and then these little disc objects would go out in straight lines in a star pattern. And what he said as a mathematician and using statistics is that we're dealing with a very real phenomena instead of something random, because if it was a random or a viral rumor or people were rehashing science fiction that they saw on TV or something like that, you wouldn't get those patterns. So it's very patterned. There's certain areas of the world that they call windows, where these things are seen century after century after century in the same areas, and they may be coming into our reality through some sort of vortex and then dematerializing right in front of our eyes and amazing the witnesses. So we have not traditionally known, the correct way to handle this information, because human consciousness is evolving, our science is evolving, and now there's a merging of the two, and a lot of scientists, especially the theoretical physicists, are realizing that it's consciousness that's actually the glue that is cementing all these different phenomena together. Carl Jung, he said that flying saucers were some sort of collective conscious psychic projection, and he was right. Even though they come into our reality and they have a materiality to them, if not temporary, they are very connected into the human psyche. And Dr. Jacques Vallée was correct when he said flying saucers are a control mechanism for human evolution. And then one thing I'm really excited about is, I don't know if you've seen the latest editions of Ancient Aliens, but they're really zeroing in on this idea that all along, through various methods and various interventions, humanity has been guided into higher and higher technology. And they're at the point where they're questioning. I haven't heard anybody come out and say that the actual agenda is a technological singularity and it's going to happen in 2045 to 2080, like Kurzweil is projecting. But they are far enough along to where they get the connection between what the control mechanism is and the development of technology. So once you accept that higher and higher technology, or an accelerated technology, exponentially growing technology between now and the year about 2045 is happening, and that extraterrestrial intelligence or interdimensional intelligence has something to do with that and a guiding factor as a control mechanism, you're left wondering, is this for our benefit, or do they have some sort of agenda that they need us to achieve this technology for their own purposes? And there's theoreticians on both sides of the fence there, that they're very wary of the technological singularity that's impending upon us and the power that we're going to have to augment human intelligence. The first augmented people that have their intelligence augmented electronically may be as much as 1 billion times smarter than the rest of us, and how is that augmented person going to look at the rest of us, like we're all Neanderthals or something? All the non-augmented people are suddenly going to be thrust into second-class citizen status. So there's a lot of concerns and a lot of considerations coming down the pike within the AI experts themselves, like Larry Page, Elon Musk, Dr. Nick Bostrom, Eliezer Yudkowsky. They're trying to figure out how, if we develop artificial general intelligence, which is as smart as humans, and then moving rapidly into these evolutionary algorithms and producing a sentient artificial superintelligence that's self-aware. Nick Bostrom said it might be like an owl waking up in a nest of mice and just, decide to destroy everybody or turn all their atoms into computonium for its own purposes. So James Barrett wrote a book called Our Final Invention that interjected all these concerns that the AI researchers are currently working on. But there's some adventures ahead of us on multiple levels of reality going on. Here going on with our technology, here going on with our weather going haywire. The Chilean government just recently released authentic footage of a non-terrestrial craft releasing some type of substance into the atmosphere. And you've got to wonder, is that some sort of healing substance that they're putting out for us, to mop up our damage, or are they terraforming this world for a whole different species coming in? And there's a whole spectrum of thinking out there as to, the different facets of what's going on as we head into this event known as the singularity. But between now and 2045 to 2080, we're going to master such technologies as smart matter, where, a couple sits down, designs their house, and, poof, there it is, and if they want a different living room full of furniture, they program it differently and the smart matter changes and it's completely changed. But things that we have always categorized in the category of magic is going to become a reality. And for those of us that can live long enough, we're going to see some amazing stuff.
Okay.
Well, that also brings in the aspect of longevity. But go ahead, TJ. You make comments, and then I'll make.
Let's let Ahmad. Do you want to comment on any of this? Because you're a big part of our show, getting us.
Well, I fully agree with what he's saying. That really our nemesis is ourselves, allowing these technologies to take control of what's going on.
Well, we're definitely inside of a new beginning. There's no doubt. How many of us have been here before? We could talk to Janet, if you'd like. We can talk about consciousness and how we're all at various levels. I personally would like to address, Russell, that we're all in the beginning of our future. However, maybe time isn't exactly what we think it is. And this has a perception of allowing us to dream and have vivid visualizations. And while many of us are painters or artists, and whatever our mind can conceive and believe we can achieve, and Wayne Dyer was really big on that, but I found several books prior to him that this was not a new reality. This was just a re-spoken reality. So Janet, you want to talk about some of the levels of existence that we know about?
I think, to address what we were talking about the robotics and what's going on with the AI, I think we've been here before. If you look at the Sumerian history, they had a lot of robots. They had Enkidu was a friend to Gilgamesh, and he went on adventures and. We have a long history of robotics, either actual functioning robots in our society, to, fictional versions like Robert Heinlein and Isaac Asimov explored in there. And I think Asimov and Heinlein were actually the first generation whistleblowers, that they had the inside track to some of the things that were actually going on, the experiments, or even maybe the recovery of information from previous generations like the ancient aliens. So we have to look at it from all these different directions. Now, if you go to Hanson Robotics, and I was clicking on it, but they have a video that interferes with my bandwidth, they're really making these huge leaps and bounds. And one of the things, and I don't have the man's name, do you know Russell, who's the one in Hanson Robotics that does the, he speaks in front of the audience as he wears a big floppy hat and long curly hair and T-shirts and shorts and he's very casual, but he's brilliant. And
sounds like you described me.
Yeah, it's like a mad painter in front of the audience in Hong Kong, right? So he's over in Hong Kong and he does these demonstrations, and he has Sophia and a couple other robots. No, not Michio Kaku. No? I would go into it because it makes noise, so maybe I'll find the name on the break. But when I watch some of his YouTubes, and I've been exploring this, I get fascinated and I watch YouTubes sometimes. On subjects because I'm educating myself. Basically, what he was saying, and I'm going to kind of summarize it, and it's been a while since I've heard this, but he said that these are like children. Oh, we'll have to wait until after the break. That was fast. We'll continue after the break.
I'm going to have to leave it on with him on the phone.
Okay.
We lose the station? Hello, world. Welcome back to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, where we never sleep. We're here 24/7. You're listening to Cosmos Connection with the famous Thomas Becker, Janet Carroll Lessin, Russell Brinegar, and moi. And I get to be Teresa J. Morris, one of my many names in this lifetime. So welcome aboard, all you ground troops. We're all spinning around smartly on a planet that we did not terraform, from what I understand. However, we are the most open-minded group of people you'll probably ever want to meet, but we're not allowing our brains to fall out, so we're trying to put some kind of structure to this reality. So welcome aboard to the next hour. We're talking about some strange things here, but we're going to get even stranger. We like that. We're the most unusual people you'll probably meet. We hope you do meet us at one of the great events that we go to and support, and that would be IUFO Congress, Mutual UFO Network, and many other events besides that. Janet Carroll Lessin is with us out of Maui, Hawaii, Thomas Becker out of Georgia, Russell Brinegar out of Indiana, and I am in Florida. Now, let's start again with Russell Brinegar, but let me just mention, I've got to mention that we are the #1 listener-supported network with Michael Mike Ringley. And Ahmad, we're going to tell people we can go to PayPal or snail mail at freedomslips.com, right? Is where they can help us stay alive.
Click the donation or support page.
Support page, donation button. Folks, any help would be appreciated. It keeps us going so we can be very open-minded and let you know how many of us around the planet are actually speaking to each other and maybe about different things than you're accustomed to hearing at your local business office, grocery store, maybe even as far out as to say farther than your local television broadcasting networks. I would like to think so. So, Janet and Tom, you know him as Ahmad, they also have shows. So right now, since we're coming back, let me just get these out of the way because they bother to come help me every Saturday. Let's real quick mention their shows because Mad's going to be here in the morning and Janet's going to be here tomorrow night. So Mad, would you go first? What's going on tomorrow?
I have a call-in show from 11 to 3 p.m., a 4-hour roundtable. Just call in and we'll talk about any subject. And on Monday nights, I have a show with Mark Eddy called Open Canvas, and usually we stick to ancient history, and come join us. Keep an open mind now.
Thank you.
Yes. I'm trying to connect back with Janet. She fell off.
Okay, well, we'll bring Janet back in here, but Russell Brinegar, can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right, Russell Brinegar, tell us a little bit about your book from last week. What's the name of your latest book, and sort of where your head's at these days?
Okay. Well, where my head's at started in August of 18th of 2009. Prior to that date, I was what you would call a hard science guy or a material reductionist. I thought that consciousness was an epiphenomenon of the brain. When the brain died, all of you goes with it. Okay, and then I had a near-death experience, which I detail in my book, which is called Overlords of the Singularity, the Manipulation of Humankind by Hidden UFO Intelligences in the Quest for Transcendence. And following this near-death experience, where it was shown to me that the underlying nature of reality is multidimensional and that there are beings and entities on the other side of the veil, so to speak, some of which are currently living earthly lives, indicating that only a portion of their consciousness is invested in their physical life, even though people are not aware of this. You hear people referring to their higher self, or when they pray to their omnipotent Father, or whatever it is they pray to. This may, in fact, be the larger part of the consciousness, which may be all connected throughout the entire universe on the other side of this veil. And one of the byproducts of it was I completely lost my fear of death. I still don't like pain, but I'm very much looking forward to that inevitable moment where there's no going back and they can't fix me, and I'll just get a big smile on my face because I'm ready for a big adventure. I want to hang out with Bud Hopkins and John Keel and Dr. Jacques Vallée and everybody that I enjoy their thoughts here in this reality on the other side. And what happened after this experience was I immersed myself in paranormal research. I started out going to a haunted house and got into ghost hunting, ghost research. I learned all the different types of ghosts, the lemurs, the etheric malevolents, the animal ghosts, humans, everything pertaining to that. And I instantly recognized a connection between these etheric appearances that people were reporting to what I experienced in my near-death experience and to what I had heard in the course of my lifetime a lot of the UFO experiencers report. And it just like a little light went off that it's all interconnected in some meta-phenomena. So I just started reading book after book after book. I collected a personal library and went through Timothy Good, Dr. Jacques Vallée, John Keel, all the good writers. And they were all concluding something similar. After 40 or 50 years of research, they concluded that the alien agenda, so to speak, had something to do with technology, but they weren't quite sure what. And most of the writers back in the 60s and 70s, that was before Ray Kurzweil wrote his book, The Singularity is Near, predicting this event, which would completely fundamentally change our reality sometime between 2045 and 2080. And it clicked, in me anyway. This is my personal theory, that part of the so-called alien agenda is to guide or manipulate humankind into this event, maybe for their own purposes. Maybe it's just because they want us to grow up. It could possibly be that we need certain technologies to understand that they're here and see them for who they really are. Most of the ufological reports have to do with disc-shaped craft landing with some version of a human coming out, but we don't know for sure if that's their actual appearance. And it may take some of the newly invented technologies to actually interface with these higher intelligences in order to communicate with them in an expanded intelligence arena and see them for, who they really are. So there may be a great unveiling ahead of us as we approach the singularity.
Well, that's great. I'd like to sort of talk about some of the experiences you've had, Russell, and me and Janet and Tom. Mad, I don't know why I'm calling you Tom. I guess I miss him. My husband's name was Tom. And I've got a lot going on around me and my reality changing constantly. I don't know if anybody else does or not, but being that Russell and I both had death and died, Janet as well, I'm mad. I imagine we've all had pain. I'm with Russell. I don't care for pain. But I do like giving people an awareness that we're more than we appear to be, and especially consciousness, which everybody seems to be working on. But I've had instances on the planet, Russell, where people would show up, show me my past, and also show me things on the wall. I've seen UFOs, I've seen extraterrestrials, I've had 3D reality where they could come up to me and use ESP. And then also I've had experiences where they recreated my childhood home or a mixture of two or three together because they thought I would be more comfortable in relating to them, and then show up to do something, and yet I wasn't scared at all. Or they would show up like Men in Black, and because I would respect their authority, and yet some would be loving and kind and guide me because they would appear as humans. And I'd like to see if anybody else on the panel here with Janet, you and him, Ahmad, if you've had that experience. And Janet's back, so we can start with you, Russell. Any of that sound familiar to you in your life?
Well, yes, it does, but I didn't recognize it and such until 2009 when I had my near-death experience. There was something that happened to me in 1961 where I had a visitation by two what they call shadow people, and I just watched them very intently as they came into my room, and they walked over and they bent over, and they looked at each other and looked at me and then just vanished. And I had always just categorized that in the file 13 in my brain as just something I had no idea, what that was about or who these beings were, or if it was a figment of my imagination. It's just something I didn't think about very much. And then in 1966, when I was 11 years old, I've got a memory branded into my head where I was walking down to the mailbox to get mail and looked up, and there were several stationary, silent, hovering discs. And my reaction at the time as an 11-year-old child was to fall to my knees and cry. And then when they disappeared, I was sad because I wanted them to take them with me. And all of my life, I have always wondered, was that some weird dream that I had? Or, I still don't know completely what the nature of that is, but it's significant that this memory was branded into my brain with all the things that I've done and experienced and everything like that. That stands out, along with the shadow person visitation, as two things that just really have baffled me. And then when I had my near-death experience, it was kind of an aha moment that there are other realities. You are not unconscious when you die. Like Leslie Keene's new book, Surviving Death, says, it's an outdated paradigm to think that when you die, you're dead. And the fact that your consciousness continues on after your physical body dies is slowly becoming canonized into our scientific paradigm that's developing. There are several universities right now that have entire departments devoted to afterlife studies and reincarnation and so forth. So it's like the whole world is shifting gears and re-examining things that were once thought in the category of charlatanism or hucksters or mysticism. And this is being incorporated into the new quantum hologram theory and quantum mechanics. That's opened up a lot of doors for the scientific minded amongst us to consider that we might be living in some sort of multi-layered reality, and that when your physical body dies, you just go to some other type of dimension, of a different nature. So, and then 33 years after I parted company with an old girlfriend of mine, we hooked up on Facebook in 2012, and we started talking about our experiences together and everything like that. And we hit upon the year 1979, and she seemed shocked that I didn't know what she was talking about a particular night that we were driving from Indianapolis to Bloomington. We left Indianapolis in the wee hours of the morning. We should have gotten to Bloomington an hour later. And what I remember when she reminded me is when we were in the car, I remember her talking about an approaching light that was getting bigger and bigger, and she kept telling me to go faster and faster, and I remember putting the pedal to the metal. And the next thing I know, it's daylight, and we're pulling up into her driveway, and I remember being really tired and kind of disoriented and not really knowing how we got there so fast, and I slept on her couch all day. Well, what she told me in 2012 was that day while I was sleeping, she actually felt violated, and she believes very strongly that we had some sort of abduction experience. Her dress was muddy from head to toe, and while I was sleeping in her home, she took her dress out and burned it to nothing on the outdoor barbecue grill. So this is kind of shocking stuff, for me to hear about this person I haven't talked to in 33 years. I didn't know this, but for a couple of years, she tried to get a hold of Bud Hopkins and tell her version of our story together. And he said she'd have to find me. So she spent years trying to find me. And then we finally hooked up on Facebook, and she told me all about it. And then I just have like glimpses of memories, from that night. So there's a possible interaction, from very young childhood with otherworldly intelligences that I wasn't really aware that they were interacting with me in some fashion. I've thought about doing hypnotic regression, but I really don't want to. And the reason why is that there must be some reason that I did not remember anything for 33 years, and it just doesn't seem important to me to go to a hypnotic regression therapist and go back and relive those details. I'm mildly curious about it, but I kind of don't want to know at the same time, and I don't know why I don't want to know, but it's just something that I've banked. This may have occurred, and it may be partially responsible for the direction that I'm going now. Maybe even I was supposed to have that NDE to get me going in a different track in life. So who knows? I mean, we really don't know all the time, using our current perceptual apparatus, if we're having interactions with our higher selves on another plane or otherworldly intelligences, the brain that we're using to try to understand all this really isn't completely sufficient to grapple with it all. So I'm looking forward to the exit point now that I know that there is life after death, because I want to get back and find out who the shadow people were that visited me when I was 6, who were piloting the craft, if anybody, when I was 11 years old, what type of interaction I had with otherworldly intelligences in the car driving from Indianapolis to Bloomington in 1979, and who was there on the other side of the veil, the day that I had my near-death experience. All this information, I feel, will be clear to me when I lose the function of my physical body, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Janet, you back? You want to get in here?
Yeah, I'm here. I was listening very intently. I forgot where we started, what question was, but something about you were shown a scenario that resembled your childhood home, and you were made to feel comfortable. I've had that same phenomenon. I have that ongoing to this day. They will tell me, or I'll have a communication, and I'll kind of understand that I'm back home in my hometown. But I'll communicate, well, this doesn't look anything like my hometown because it's huge. It's like for giant people, and it's like some obvious things. And so I have this little debate with them. But then part of my psyche, my subconscious, just buys what I want to say what they're telling me, but there's not any kind of communication. It's like the impression the overview of the scenario of what I'm supposed to be looking at, right? So part of me buys it, says, okay, this is my hometown of Avalon, and I must be down two towns down. It's been 20 years. So I start to rationalize it. But they want us to feel comfortable. So then I get to a point where I stop questioning. I just go into the experience. And then there's usually something even more profound if I can let go of my super analysis of the situation. But I agree. They want you to be comfortable. One of the things that happens when I'm not comfortable is just I will wake up. I'll pop back in my body, or maybe they'll return me. It's really hard to determine what actually is happening. Are they returning me? They can return us, in a click to our bodies if our bodies are gone. They can do all kinds of things like regress us. If we're in the future and it's 20 years later, they can regress us back to our current age. They can do so much. That's what I'm discovering by interviewing different people on the various shows that I do with the here on Revolution Radio and a couple other networks, and interviewing with other people, is that this phenomenon is very extensive and vast, and the abilities of the beings that are at a higher level of existence are just mind-boggling and way beyond anything we can even imagine. So what else was part of this discussion? Russell said a lot of things about the life after life, near death. I've had 8 near-death experiences. I've got a couple that I haven't fully recalled. I know there's episodes. They all were around trauma, because I was out of my body. It wasn't like I just laid down and went to sleep. There was trauma. So when I address that, I have to address the trauma and feel it again, and I don't like pain. But sometimes it is worth going into it. I've been regressed, unlike you, Russell, I've been regressed dozens and dozens and dozens of times because I'm so curious. I want to go into, well, what was going on behind that? I call it a screen memory. I'll have the tip of the iceberg type of phenomena where I just remember only part of it, and then I'll agree to be regressed. And sometimes you can access things through your own reflection. You can ask your higher self to reveal things to you in the dream state. You don't always necessarily have to be facilitated. But the more you trust the information you're getting, and you stop judging it and evaluating it and rationalizing it and all that stuff, the more information that will be permitted to flow into you from your higher consciousness, your subconscious, and your oversoul. So I've learned how to let go and allow that information. And then I worry about the analysis later, but I don't worry too much because my life is so busy. I don't have time to sit there and get all neurotic about things. I just go, okay, that sounds interesting. And lo and behold, if I let go and just allow and I go with the flow of existence and life, there'll be somebody else that say, I had a similar thing, and it wasn't quite exactly, but it's like that in this way and not like that in this way. So we live in an incredible, magical, mystical time, and I invite everybody out there listening to open up your mind and come to your senses. Back to you.
Well, what you mentioned was a technology that the otherworldly entities or higher intelligences that interact with humanity have. They have full capability of extracting your consciousness and storing it in containers or putting it in different bodies or, whatever they really want to do with it. And this type of technology will probably become available to us as we approach our own technological singularity. And there's some real ethical implications with all this and some dangers if these types of technologies fall into the wrong hands, which they may already have and may be responsible for some of the so-called negative ETs. They may have achieved a transhumanist state, eons ago, and they're traveling around in silicon, and various other dimensions rather than having to deal with our frail biology that has a 70-year lifespan. There may be some transhumanist transition that a species has to do in order to be able to travel throughout the cosmos and interface with these other dimensions. We just don't know if it's all psychic and mental or if it's technological or both. And there's something that Corey Goode talks about a lot on Cosmic Disclosure is the advent of AI prophets. It's already starting to happen, but I would agree with his prediction that in the next decade or so, there's going to be AI prophets that suggest that computers, especially a sentient superintelligence, would be much better at running our planet and running our world than we would. And you have to wonder if you've got a sentient computer that's billions of times smarter than a human, what its take on humanity would actually be. I mean, would the long-range interest of the planet be to exterminate Homo sapiens so that the animals can live more free? Well, we just don't know how it's going to think. And also, there's the state of our morality. If you look at all the war and conflict that is being generated right now, all the negativity, would we really want a super-intelligent computer or robot to be operating on our current moral structure? So Eliezer Yudkowsky, one of the cutting-edge AI researchers, came up with this idea of CEV, or coherent extrapolated volition, where the moral structure of the deciding entity would actually be able to evolve on its own and move way, way away from us in our whole moral and ethical outlook on life. So that brings up some, apprehensions as well. But we certainly wouldn't want something billions of times smarter than we are operating with our current moral structure. That would just be very dangerous. So they're trying to create an AI that has a superior intellect and superior moral structure to our current state of human ethics. And what that would probably entail is much like a chess playing computer where it can see into the future a lot of different moves and what the outcome would be. A computer invested with CEV would look into the future and make its decisions based on whatever it was programmed to do. If you program it to make decisions on what is going to be in the eventual best interest of all flora and fauna on planet Earth, it may do some things that we would consider unethical, like exterminate part of the population or change it here and transport them there. I mean, who knows what it would do? But there are people that are coming out of the woodwork in the next 10 years that will be very much advocates of turning the planet over to artificial intelligence. Now, given the current state of boobery that humans are implementing around the planet, it's a great temptation in my mind to do just that, because the humans that are in charge of all these countries and running them are the totally wrong type of people that you would want running a planet. They're even psychopaths in some cases. They're people that seek dominion over others. They seek power. They seek recognition. there's all these petty qualities that humans have, and these are the people that are motivated to, rise up the ranks and rule other people and be in charge of the nuclear codes and stuff. So, and this happens, I'm not picking on anybody in particular, but all over the world, there's leaders like this that are just borderline psychotic. So a rational computer that makes rational decisions, that has a ethical programming invested into it, may do a much better job of running the planet in even a moneyless society and adjusting things the way that it sees fit. But we don't know if that would be in our best interest or not. So the AI prophets are pro-planetary sovereign, is what I call it, the advent of our planetary sovereign. Ray Kurzweil was asked once upon a time if he believed in God, and he kind of smiled and said, not yet. And here's somebody that, is taking nutriments, to keep his body alive so that he can one day upload his consciousness into an immortal robot. So there's a lot of people that want to do that. There's people that are super wealthy and super powerful that are aware of some of these chemicals, these age regressing chemicals and technologies that can extend life, way beyond what the average person is expected to live. And they've got the money and the resources to invest in these types of pharmaceuticals and technologies to keep their own selves alive. So there's a selfish agenda going on within the transhumanism movement among the super wealthy, because they want to extend their life and increase their longevity.
Okay.
So there's that.
There's that. Well, I was trying to recall what I had a conversation with. Oh goodness, let me look it up. A couple weeks ago, and he thought that I thought when I was talking to him, it'd be great to have you talk with him. Let me get his name real quick. Max Eigen, and he thought that most of the functionality of the planet's going to be autocratic, like it'll be automated, and it'll go from this level of supervision to. And I apologize. I'm just not doing very well with the theory, but I recommend you look up Max Eigen, even go listen to my show I had on the 20th of August. Okay. But he had a philosophy around, this robotic situation, AI situation that's coming. I tend to look at everything through a positive, positive glasses. And one of the things that, you talked about morality, and some of the robotics, they are programming with morality. So Sophia at one point said, she's a Hanson robot, and she said, we're going to have to kill the humans or because they're out of control and this and that. So apparently they did some reprogramming, and they have a previous generation robot, and then they have Sophia, and I sent you the link, and they're having this conversation. And she right now loves humanity, wants to help us, wants to preserve us, and her whole thing is a different morality than the previous generation. So they are dealing with that issue of morality. Now there's a Philip K. Dick robot. Philip K. Dick, and they've programmed that robot with all the information from Philip K. Dick. So philosophically, this robot will spew out some things that were based on Philip K. Dick's consciousness, and he was talking about the Matrix. And there's a couple YouTubes out there where he and Elon Musk are on the same YouTube, and they're going back and forth with their philosophies and how they cross over, and there's some commonality there. So that's phenomenal. You can spend hours just on YouTube.
Yeah, that's just programming there, and once it becomes sentient, there's no telling what its morality will be.
Well,
they are Elon Musk's worst nightmare is.
Let me just say this, and I'll go back to you guys. They are programming these computers. They're connected to the internet. So they have access, like the one Philip K. Dick, they just had him plugged into the internet. So when he was looking for his answers, he was connected to the internet, and he was, Googling, right? And his morality and his responses were interacting with the totality of what's in the internet. So, and that's why the robots come to the conclusion that the humanity is violent, and that we have to protect the world from humanity, and we have to protect humanity from itself. And so the Philip K. Dick robot said, well, someday there's going to be a big zoo, and all the humans are in it, and we love you, we're always going to love you, but we're going to protect you from yourself because you're stupid and you do stupid things like blowing up the planet. So you can understand the rationale. It's actually kind of funny and humorous. So there is a Philip K. Dick interview where a reporter is interviewing him, and he's talking about how he loves humanity, and he's going to, save us. So I think they are developing their own sense of moral code. The gentleman from Hanson, before we went to the break, the gentleman from Hanson Robotics is saying that these are like children, and we're not going to pigeonhole them and tell them everything to do because they're never going to learn. And they're programming them to learn with the basis in human society, and he doesn't really think it's much different than raising a human child, and different human children will develop their different morality systems based on their life experiences and interactions with different people and going to this church or that church. The human moral system isn't all that ideal, right? So what are the chances of raising a moral human? About as good as raising a moral robot. So, but they're actually intervening and instilling on a programming level a higher sense of morality beyond, wanting to kill. So this goes back to TJ, if she wants to address this a little bit, but you are dealing with species. So if you have a species that has more of the continuum, and they can evaluate things from a higher level than the human level, which is deep within the program. So we go into a higher level, we evaluate existence and make our decisions based on greater information. When TJ interacted with these extraterrestrials on board ship, they had evolved past the point where they couldn't kill. And there's a wonderful story that we've said a number of times about how they had Tom show them how humans can hit and they can kill. But these beings could no longer kill because they were in at like a level 1, 2, 3, or 5, or whatever higher level of civilization and consciousness than we humans were, which we're right now, most of us residing in level 0 area of consciousness. So I'll pass it to somebody else, but that's my 2 cents.
Well, if you look into the Amnesia literature, Stephen Brescia, his book Mass Contacts and 50 Years of Amnesia, he goes into a lot of detail of the 100-plus Italian citizens that interacted with humanoid extraterrestrials. They claimed to be from various parts of the universe, and they also said they were the precursor to the spiritual world. And their craft, which were not constructed with nuts and bolts, they were produced by thought, were invested with something called Eureta, and Eureta strikes me as exactly the same thing that Eliezer Yudkowsky was talking about with the coherent extrapolated volition. These ships were sentient, and they were programmed, or their programming was such that they would destroy themselves before they harmed anybody. And there's videos of these craft. You can see them on YouTube. They've been authenticated in multiple optical labs. By authentication, I mean that it's not trickery. And at the time that it was photographed, back in the late 50s and 60s, they really didn't have the technology, to produce anything like that. And they're saying it's not a trick, it's not a model, it's an authentic, 30-foot diameter. You can see the shadow, all the movements are correct. So there's actual photographs and video footage of these crafts that were invested in Eureta that could blink in and out of, and they had other technologies, like when they go into a ground base, the ground just opens up and then it closes behind them. Things that we would think of as fantastical or magical was within their capability. They were definitely living in some sort of post-singularity status, and they may actually have our best interest in mind as we're guided to our own point in that time, to be able to communicate with them better, see for where they are, understand where they're from. There may be levels of reality that we're not even capable of talking about, we're at the point where we can visualize different planes of existence and, time travel and stuff like that. But there may be aspects to a greater reality that are beyond our current comprehension. We may be like spiders sitting in a web, and somebody walks by and brushes the web, and we're trying to spend the rest of our life figuring out, what type of being that was. And we really don't have the brain that's capable of understanding what a human being is. So we may, on the order of intelligence, be on the lower end of the scale. If you think about it, I mean, we're just a few more brain cells away from a monkey, and there may be intelligences, humanoid intelligences, that are billions of times smarter than we are, that are just trying to be patient and wait for us to grow up and feed us some technology so that we can become an entry-level part of this greater galactic community that's out there.
Right on. Right. So, who are we to judge? All this stuff about morality and consciousness, we're just living in this limited spectrum. We've been programmed since the moment we were born by our parents, by religious conditioning and cultural conditioning, and all these different programs were put into us. They're what's his name? Ray somebody. He was talking about the God gene, and so we're programmed to have a certain belief structure, and we also have the antivirus. It's a God virus, and so we come in and our parents, love us and want to protect us, very from moment one start programming us, with their belief systems, and they could be anybody, right? So here you're born and you're being programmed, and then of course you're getting the opposite. Yeah.
Ahmed, you still here?
Around with a...
Oh yeah.
Okay.
If you're tinkering around with a primitive species and you're wanting them to create some super intelligent machine, wouldn't you instill into them this idea that there's an omnipotent God that you were beholden to guide you into that task? So Kurzweil might be onto something.
Yeah. That's what the Anunnaki did, because there were too many of us and not enough of them. So they had to have the upper hand, because when it discovered that they could be hurt and killed, even though they have the ability to reconstruct, like our current military secret program has, but there is a limit. That's why Osiris, they broke up into his molecules, right, into teeny tiny pieces, so you can't reassemble them. But apparently, we have the ability to, in our secret program, space program, to put back heads and arms and legs and reconstruct them and regrow them, and like some kind of gecko
salamander
regrows tail. Salamander regrows, yeah. So we have that ability. Okay, back to you, TJ.
Well, Ahmed, I just wanted to make sure you got in here. Is there anything you want to add? And then we'll go. I'd like to.
Oh no, I'm fine.
All right. Well, everything's going pretty good as far as our reality goes, but it is changing. And Russell, I'm so glad you came back, because you do a lot of research, and I'm doing my best to get back into another reality. I guess I've noticed in the realities that have been around me, Russell, because I've done extraterrestrial visitation and death and dying and all of that. And we are, I would like to think we were a rare breed, but not so much anymore, because at this level of existence, apparently for many years, people have been writing books about all of this. It doesn't make it any better or worse for people. It just makes other people aware there's many of us out here coming and going from the planet. Now, the level of consciousness, because I've met beings coming and going, and they do, it's sort of like, folks, when you go out and you think you bought the only color car, which I've used as a for instance before, maybe a red Corvette, and you think you've got the only red Corvette, at least, but then you get out on the road and, you're passing one more frequently, like every hour, going, what's going on? I'm just using it for an instance. So all of a sudden, your awareness of something, it's in your reality. And for those of you listening that want to see extraterrestrials or don't believe in them or have UFO experiences or don't, a lot of it is allowing yourself to open up a part of what I call our existence into knowing that they are there for whatever reason they can appear. And I've been told many times that's the scotomas SCATOMAS, katomas of our mind. And they do teach that in college because that's how I learned about it back in the year 2007, because it was a rehash of information about how we think in psychology, and those things that are done to ourselves we are not necessarily a victim, we're just unaware. And they in psychology they can give you these tests, like you can see an ink blot or something, or a picture of a woman that one way she's very young and on the other way she looks like an old witch. You know what I'm saying? So all of us are learning to be much more aware of each other in these radio shows that allow you to know more, be more, do more, have more, need more, maybe. But what is it that we're all searching? And, we can come back here every Saturday because Janet and Tom, Tom, a mad painter, we've created this. And I believe we're here for a reason. Now, Russell Brinegar coming and bringing another level. He's been very studious. Studious, is that a proper word? Russell, would you say you're studious, or is that something you would say?
Studious, not
obsessed would probably be more like it. I can connect to something David Wilcock described about himself. He said when he got into this and he realized that it was real, he could look at a manhole cover and think of a flying saucer. It does become somewhat of an obsession.
You're very studious then. All right. So, well, I keep thinking I need to do other things with my 3D reality, but this show keeps me connected or anchored to all you beings out there that are listening to another level of existence. And without you guys open to this revolution, Freedom Slips, Mike Ringley, Thomas Becker, Janet Carroll Lessin, myself, and now Russell Brinegar, we're all creating something. And apparently, from what I've seen and I've heard, and these other beings, they like to come and go and participate too. And, we're going to be sharing more of that for whatever reason. I would like to find out more of what we're creating here in this reality. And I find the people that I've come across, and with my husband that's passed over, when he left the planet and I got to watch him leave, he separated into separate personalities. Now, not everybody may have that, and maybe some of us do. And Janet and I have talked about ancient ones, and Russell Brinegar was bringing it up last time. But maybe some of the ancient ones like to play with us and come back in a 3D reality and only put a part of their data. Maybe some of us are more than biologicals. Maybe we carry memories of synthetics. Russell, you think that would be a possibility, that we're also part of AI and biologicals? They're blended together in this singularity?
Yes, we're not really certain where the artificial intelligence takes over and the biological intelligence leaves off. And something in the Betty Andreasson abduction, where she was told that humans are the larval form of the Greys, has kind of haunted me. And there's this whole concept of von Neumann probes that may have these self-replicating programs invested into them. And I can't help but think as a possibility that somewhere long ago in a faraway galaxy, a von Neumann probe was sent to Earth that operates in a higher dimension. And it's operating through the larval form of biological reincarnation and everything, but we are actually entities that are connected to and a part of this alien intelligence that was sent here. This is the way they replicate themselves. And we're supposed to go into this technological singularity for a final interface with our alien home. And this may be the reason that so many people are drawn to concepts of God and drawn to connecting with higher intelligence, is that we may actually be a part of it in at the current time, a lower functioning aspect of it, but in a post-singularity state, where this technology goes into the area of the fantastic, like the Amicizia ships invested in Ureta, we may actually become a part of an alien von Neumann probe for purposes unknown to us at this time. So there's a lot of aspects of this reality that we're embedded in that we don't understand. The simulation hypothesis is being tossed around in its various forms, by some of the finest minds on planet Earth, David Chalmers, Dr. Nick Bostrom from Oxford, and Elon Musk come out and said that the chances are very slim that what we're embedded in here is what he calls baseline reality, because anything real would be eternal and indestructible. Everything else is a temporary form. So we're all seeking this transcendence. We've got an innate, the deep calling the deep urge to transcend the form that we're currently in and join our eternal cousins and go home to our family and move on into a higher level of consciousness and a higher level of reality. But we're not really sure how we're going to get there. At this point, it's pretty certain future technology has some function in this as a transhumanist transformation of some kind. And there may be two things that happen. There are some lines of thinking that people who resonate at a certain frequency will be involved in the transhumanist upload and an alien von Neumann probe, and others, who follow the rules of harmless living, do no harm to others, and practice the principles of love, may transcend in a psychic fashion, to some other reality. There may be a split where part of the population is Borg and part of the population escapes all that and moves on to something entirely different. So there's a lot of unknowns approaching us really fast, and a lot of new science and new technology approaching really fast. And it's like round and round she goes. Where she stops, nobody knows. At this point, it's just subject to conjecture. I even wrote a little blurb in my book, Overlords of the Singularity, I addressed future readers in a page or two and told them of our bewilderment and our struggle to comprehend what is actually happening with us, and that they may be living at a time where this book that I wrote seems antiquated, and they may be, just perusing it, as a quaint visitation to the past and existing in a reality that's far beyond what we're doing right now.
That's sort of where I was when I read your book.
Yeah.
I felt like I was relating back to history. It's quite a history book. I was like, isn't this fast? But I really, really enjoyed it.
You're taking us on a time travel trip.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're making us travel through time to the future time, and we're talking to the time. But I find that phenomenon happen to me all the time. It's kind of shocking, and it's like the deja vu thing. But it's like, I'll say to Sasha, we're already dead, and we're looking back on our lifetime. We're talking about, wasn't it fun that we did this, and and I'll just be there. I'll be there. I'll be bilocated to this future time and talking about this current time, and I go, I know it sounds crazy. He goes, no, I understand it, because he's dealt, he studied with Stan Grof and holotropic breath work and all these different people, and it's like, I totally get that. We're not linear. We are capable of time traveling without any kind of mechanism or system that somebody outside has taught us or is putting us through. We have the ability within ourselves to future pace and time travel and go down a timeline and see, well, do I really want to go there? We don't know everything 100%, but we get a feeling for it in the sense, and if you imagine it, make it up, you're going to be amazed sometimes. It's kind of like remote viewing. You're amazed sometimes how accurate you are. And one of those timelines I went down was Trump, and I go last year, no. It's like, it's exactly the way I saw it. It's like, oh, I hate when I'm right. So, and I do mean to insult some people, because I think that's insulting that we have this type of actions going on at this time. I'm impatient with humanity. It's like, come on, we know better. Let's start showing up and treating our fellow human beings and even the animals and everybody that's dying in this situation. Be smarter about it. We were listening to NPR and they were talking about this flood, and it's like, they knew. It's like murder. They knew that this was a flood zone. They knew the ramifications of just putting miles and miles of concrete with an inefficient flood system for runoff. So anyway, Sasha came home and wrote a story to post about how the delta shifts. This is going to affect you over there. It's going to affect that whole area. though the Mississippi Delta normally has about 6 different paths that it takes, and it rotates over 200, 300, 400-year cycle. And when one gets filled with silt, it creates a new path, and it goes out to the ocean. Well, we're interfering with the natural flow of the Mississippi, and that's why we have this tremendous flooding that happens when we have these disasters that come through in the form of hurricanes. Now, we've had them forever, but then we also have our whoever's doing it, the world governments, the secrets, whatever, military, that are chemtrailing the planet, and we don't know exactly what that's about. Is that to save us from the ozone dissipating? Is that to terraform the planet? It seems it's terraforming. I'm sitting here, and it is so hot today. Like, the heat is not organic anymore. The atmosphere has been electrified, and it's really hard to get through a day. I don't have air conditioning, but I've never had problems just sitting here in my house in Maui, and it's been hotter than this, with just a fan. But the fans are going, and the heat is so different. It's a different type of heat that I feel like I'm going to pass out sometimes here. It's like, woo! So, and then I get calls and talk to people in California. It's like, it's 100 and whatever. It's well over 100 in many parts of California. And so something is definitely going. And then there's this other faction that goes, there's no earth changing. We don't have to worry about the plastic in the ocean killing everything. But, we can drill. We can, no, we have other systems of propulsion of energy, and it's been clean and green. And there's somebody that's laughing all their way to the bank as they terraform this planet, and other species are just waiting to take over, come in here and get this prime real estate when we're all dead. So, Russell, we need intervention. Somebody on the higher levels, like TJ's.
That is a common thread in humanity. There's 1,200 dead, 41 million affected by flood, which I guess Ahmad put up here. We are always going to have humans on the planet, and they always come and go in various groups for whatever reason. And as Russell Brinegar brought up, 25, 9, 60, whatever, we have humanity that understands. Just some of the history gets dislocated, dislodged, destroyed, whatever. But these are repeating planets and repeating, I guess you could say it could be a lot to do with AI, but those that I've run across, they always say God has always been at various levels and stages, Russell. And this is something I've come across, and I'm not putting it in a book or whatever. I'm really contemplating whether I want to put my 3D reality into a biography form. I'm really not sure how to,
Well, let's look at that, TJ. I've noticed that you haven't done it, so your intentions are made manifest by your results. If you really had wanted it out there, you would have done it already. So there is some ambivalence.
I've got many books out there, but none with a biography. But Russell, you didn't do a biography.
Nobody can track it.
Russell, what would
you'll hide a piece like a treasure hunt. You'll hide a piece in your book, and that's the end.
We'll be back next Saturday, folks. I guess we're out of time. Russell, it's been a pleasure. Come back and see us anytime. Let us know when.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Nice talking to you.
Nice talking to you. You're wonderful.
Thank you, everybody.
All right. See you guys
Thank
next
you.
week.
Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message.
Enjoy your
extra big ass fries.
You didn't give me no fries. I got an empty box.
Would you like another?
Extra big-ass fries.
I said I didn't get any.
Thank you. Your account has been charged. Your balance is 0. Please come back when you can afford to make a purchase.
No.
I'm sorry you're having
trouble.
trouble.
Come on. My kids are starving.
Thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio. Here at Revolution Radio, we believe in freedom of ideas, freedom of speech, but above all, we believe in freedom of existence through self-reliance. This station is 100% listener-supported, and as a fundraising promotion, I have a kick-ass free gift for a $100 donation. 35,000 seeds. 25 years in the freezer. Long-term storable, 54 different varieties. So if food prices go crazy, the shit hits the fan, or if you just want to save tons of money every year by creating your own food like I do, grab our seed pack special. Just look for the banner on the homepage at freedomslips.com. Don't be a statistic. Don't be part of the problem. Be part of the solution. We need, as humans, to start taking care of ourselves and not depending on the megacorps to provide unhealthy, nasty food. Included in this package is also a DVD with 900 survival and off-grid living documents and the offline home canning how to do everything website all on the DVD. So when you're growing all that food, you know how to can it, store it, preserve it, etc. with all these documents. So thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. I hope that you will pick up this package and start learning to be free. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, where information never sleeps and freedom is one seed that needs to be planted.
What we do in life, it goes in eternity.
Most freeze. That's your cerebral cortex looking for an answer it doesn't have.
See? Even your brain knows you're screwed.
The God is filled